recording.
All the following statistical information is from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Imagine what it would be like to never be able to walk again, to never be able to bend down and tie your shoes, to never be able to pick up your children or embrace them, or to do the everyday things that most everyone else can do. Or maybe perhaps even die, all because you decided not to buckle up. Today I'd like to examine a few ideas on why people don't buckle up and why it's so important to do so. About 20% of people don't wear seatbelts, and what I'd like to examine is why people don't wear them. Perhaps you think that short distances or slow-moving vehicles are reasons not to wear your seatbelt. Well, 75% of all accidents are 25 miles from the home, and 80% are less than 40 miles an hour. Perhaps you won't because of the automatic seatbelt. I remember when I was a child, we had a Ford Escort, and when you closed the door, the shoulder belt came across and came in front of you, although that didn't do anything for the waist, so we didn't even buckle up then. But in the case of an accident, if you were to roll over in your car, you would still be ejected from the car because it doesn't keep your lap lashed into the seat. Perhaps you're optimistic because you think you're a good driver. I'm more cautious now when I drive, mostly because I have kids and I want to protect them. I know that I'm a good driver, and I know you all think that you are good drivers, but really it's really being afraid of what other people are doing. And obviously I could be in an accident because of my own error, but you just don't know. And you don't know when someone's going to do something else, so you have to be a defensive driver. Maybe you think that being thrown from your vehicle is safer than actually being stuck or trapped in your car. Well, you have actually 25 times greater chance of dying because of being thrown from your vehicle. I read a story that a police officer told about a woman being ejected from her car. She was not wearing her seatbelt, so when she was ejected, she fell to the ground and her car actually rolled on top of her. During the autopsy, they found that her cause of death was not actually because of the car crushing anything or the actual being thrown from the car, but it was the car suffocating her. So had she not been suffocated from the car being on top of her, she probably would have lived. Perhaps some of you are afraid of drowning in your car, or perhaps being in a fire. You have a greater chance of being unconscious or injured from not buckling up. So if you were in these two situations, you would not be able to do anything in the event that you would be stuck in your car in water or in fire. You have a greater chance of, if you're in this situation, to be able to get yourself out of it if you're not injured or not unconscious. So it would be in your best interest to buckle up so that way you are able to get yourself out of that situation. Also, the chances of being in a water or fire accident is actually very low. It's 0.5% of all auto injuries are from fire or water. So, do you know that each auto accident is actually costing you money? We all pay for people who don't buckle up by higher taxes, higher health care costs, and higher insurance costs. The cost of the unbuckled medical expenses is 55% higher than that of someone who did buckle up. Non-use of a seatbelt causes $26 billion per year due to medical bills and job loss. we individually take on about 85% of these costs, which takes about $580 per year. So why is buckling up so important in saving people's lives? Well, when you're in a car, and say your car's moving 60 miles an hour, when your car immediately stops to slam on the brakes or on impact, the car may stop, but your body is still moving at that rate. So when the car stops, you continually go, and you end up hitting the steering wheel or actually going through the windshield, which causes injury or death. The probability of being in a car accident sometime in your life is 80%. 63% of deaths from auto accidents were because of not wearing the seatbelt. 83% of people use seatbelts in the US. 270 lives are saved for every percent of people who actually do buckle up. So doing the math, if everyone buckled up, 5,000 more lives would be saved, and that's 27,000 lives annually. So do you think you're invincible? Well, everyone thinks that they're invincible to tragedy and that nothing can ever happen to them. Well, it has to happen to someone. And I'd like to give you a few examples of some articles that I read from the Star Tribune on local people from here that were involved in car accidents. My first example is a two-vehicle crash in Wilmer, Minnesota that killed a 20-year-old college student. He was not wearing a seatbelt when the other car collided into the side of his vehicle, and he died. My second example is a St. Paul man. He was not wearing his seatbelt, and he was thrown from his Ford Mustang when he hit a guardrail entering on Highway 94. He died. His passenger, however, was wearing a seatbelt, and they survived with non-life-threatening injuries. My third example is the captain of a boys' high school basketball team, and he swerved to avoid hitting a deer. He lost control of his car and was thrown from his vehicle because he was not wearing a seatbelt. And my last example is an Elk River man who lost control of his pickup on an icy road. He did not have a seatbelt on, and he was ejected from his vehicle, and he died as well. So as you can tell from these four examples, there's one thing in common. They all did not wear their seatbelts, and they all died. So what can we do to make people buckle up? My first example here is to lead by example. That means if you have children in your car, make sure that you buckle up to show them a positive example. I know from being a parent how much kids really do what you do, so if you buckle up, they will too. Ask your passengers to buckle up too. It's your vehicle, and you're responsible for their safety as well as and as much as they are. So ask them to buckle up. It's not too much to ask because you're showing interest in saving their lives and keeping them safe. Observe your local seatbelt laws. Not only will this save your life, but it will also save you from paying a ticket when you get pulled over from not wearing a seatbelt. So in review, it's far more dangerous to not wear a seatbelt than any fear that you may have of not wearing a seatbelt. The chances are very high that someday you will be in a car accident, so you should buckle up. The chances of dying also are very high if you don't buckle up. And last, wearing seatbelts lowers the amount of money that the community pays in medical bills and taxes and insurance costs. You are in the driver's seat when it comes to buckling up. You may be able to save your life and others' lives too. So next time when you're in your car, cross your heart instead of your fingers. Thank you.